Hello, species value nature system. This is yin yang theory. I'm sorry, all my markers are out. This is to excuse. Now, that was supposed to be black and white. There are proofs that there was only one black dot inside the omega portion, which omega value, wherever there is omega value, there is alpha value. And wherever there is one, in other words, wherever there is one, there is two. And wherever there is two, there is three. These are polarities of a trinity as nature, as the nature of each cell of your body is. I'm not a doctor, not peaceful, not a criminal, not military. Boxing's the sciences share an identity. For example, women's nature and man's nature, distinctly and non-distinctly, have this third nature, a little bit more, gaining as our nature of volume. Distinctly and non-distinctly, so we can see its identity of value progression. Allah's name was revealed about the distinct and non-distinct identity of value relationship that the 26 sounds of the English language have together. And this is also about the value of the other sounds, increasingly, of the other names of God, increasingly. But in relationship to the subject matter of the Quran and of the Old Testament, Allah is the only name. And Jesus is the only name for the subject of the Old Testament in relationship to what is Alpha and Omega value. There are proofs that the ancients revealed English as a species nature of volume, valuing how we are nature of volume, and how it is an identity of relationship to itself onto its three natures of volume at once, and demonstrating those three semi-natures are bonded by a complete nature that is also two semi-natures. And so this is also about, this is a theory called, there's more than theory. This is science called the nature numbers. Besides zero, there are three natures of zero that were valued before, and then as the value of one, and of one's progressive value, and as two, and which is needed to make a baby. Three is value as nature, because all in the cell nucleus, the cell body, the cell wall. Three, and that value nature inside values nature. It connects with the value of the other ones, as value as nature as value, and as the value of the simultaneous nature of relationship that they have to itself, as the means to make more of its volume that is also positive onto itself here, and or as Earth's simultaneously distinct and non-distinct temporary / lasting space nature relationship to the rest of temporary / lasting forever nature, then in a negative way. But this is for a value nature system tactical ulterior than these are for. This is not for, in other words, these three natures of volume are simultaneously distinctly and non-distinctly onto themselves, and as themselves as an increasing nature of volume, positive or negative, cause to positive value nature progressions in environmental change, or to negative value nature progressions, environmental change. Can't apply what you're talking about with this, because this is juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises, private ones originally still uncharged, and not enough jobs, and everyone valuing having had the cause of that blamed on other things, others, and selves, and not understanding but through live progressions is as live progression cover up nature's needs and styles that couldn't defend that, and without valuing fake sides, while valuing each age of fact treatment nature obfuscated from correlation nature simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means simultaneously. What so that this is a crime method that made all victim predator roles originally and still. George Washington did not chop down the fake branches. He could only semi counter extort them with the French general's help, with slavery in the North. And that understanding that is what American history is really about. Understanding that is what modern histories are about, which is the extortion of our founders, each modern nation. Excuse me. How that was forced valued by them, pretended. Everyone pretending it's valuable. It's legitimate practical reason. It's legitimate treatments of practical reason, legitimate treatments of positive. It is not. This is about the identity of positive, yin yang, the Trinity, the five pillars of Islam. So this is not a joke. What only feels like games. Whoever trains, because mandated law's course was prevented. Each age of fact, cheaping nature is recorded, consciously maintained from the ground of education, and then on off each age of campus, each nature of campus inclusion. With and as all natures of criminal and citizen's nature juxtaposed, private, overt, other nations' armies, shared police, other nations, policing, and everything interbranch, offensive evidence reception predators, identity theft rackets rolled. Excuse me, rackets bonded. Using the word racket, in other words, racketeering influenced and corrupt organization act. I'm not a lawyer, not a police form, not a criminal, not a military. Vaccines, it tells us things. I tell you things. Behold, the campus Marcius calls you home. Be told. So, in other words, in the heartbeat of Allah, this is about the value of concentration, and which is a trinity, and its value. And the only thing, in other words, this is about the identity of logic, the value of mind progressively, and by and towards obligations by our human fact treatment nature. There is a bond to and as the value of our human fact treatment nature. That is the bond to and as the value of our souls. In this conversation is recorded that and how pretended legal representation. This has nothing to do with taxes. There's a method to heal what is wrong. In other words, we have the right to donate. If you make so much money, you can donate so much to charities that are needed because we're in an identity of negative value nature progressions. With negative value nature progressions, acts and natures valued having always been only known, remembered, blamed on other causes, blamed on others, and blamed on selves. The real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, sequence shifts, styles of liars, fake positive natures as sensibility treatments that are a barrier to the quality of fact treatment nature needed for each age of fact treatment nature to defend themselves, otherwise to be invested, only capable of being invested, even for health reasons, valuing the obfuscation of human correlation nature's value, which is as a trinity, and which is more than that. So only the extent of this is debatable, which is happening and only known offensively within as overall convictions recorded criminally for and influence every modern nation's sciences, human fact treatment nature, misprision roles with what should speak for souls, free speech, let just one teach. See, they've been stealing our identities. If you note See, if you trace, you have to tell lies to yourself to pretend that Hartford, Connecticut, anywhere there are cities. This is a tactically denatured relationship to nature. What was sick with color, put put that in there just to keep that as a tool, with everyone invested having blamed it on that, then having justified nature's roles in with nature's positive treatments as victims that who not one person heard. Free speech is simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means about the identity of positive, which is the identity inventions work in that are not in relationship to, which is the identity that inventions are further positive or are not in relationship to, which is what is valuing that as positive or negative and allowing, as exception. This is what is true always, and as exception, its own truth. This isn't. That's why we have to discern this per science. The identity of value progression, the identity that all identities share at once. No nature with no criminal foreign influences. The rest of nature since semi-ancient times. It just reminds. And there are proofs that the original ancients valued how we have difference because that showed what real difference is. Like a game because it reveals evolution. This is what Santa Claus is about. Saint Nicholas, all year around. The church had to ask him for help on how to defend their positions with regarding the how to defend their positions regarding the nature of the law. In other words, where and as and how this is still a states and areas criminally foreign influenced, delusions raw at the same time. And within that sensibilities like that were our life progressions already having been valued each age of fact, treatment, nature, slander, worse than slander. They're in an identity of each identity of ground, and its identity value as us as value is criminally re-engineered, is tactically denatured to effectively having used that to maintain all roles, blaming negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures on other causes, other things in selves. What it is all true always is our nature in a value nature system that is tactical ulterior from the one we are at the same time that causes positive value nature progressions, acts, and natures. And evolution's means. One way redeems. Or we stay value nature systems other, you know, justifying this as the only ones because they're only ones left manifest. They're still left manifest currently foreign influence, delusions wrought. All victim predator roles unequally hurt by how everything was denatured means to it. From value, tactically denatured relationship to nature, the means of it. Forced nations individually grouped and together, forced not to speak about how they share policing. Sick. They share valuing justifications of positive as that can't afford free speech with its simultaneously inherent active and progressive means. So there are proofs that there were either two or three, there were three yin yang in the ancient times. Even if this is wrong, so I believe I'm not sure how it is formally. In other words, for what is preserved and what is agreed about. If I would guess that yang is or maybe yin would be black. Black and white are bonded inseparably, just like our different organs are bonded inseparably as their complete identities, simultaneously unceasing semi-nature relationships to our complete identity, simultaneously as a semi-nature, unceasingly positive or negative in relationship to this identity of value progression, which is a trinity discernibly. And so simultaneously, discernibly, distinctly, and non-distinctly as 5 semi-natures at the same time as 1. So 1, 3, and 5 would be the physical value nature numbers, primary value nature numbers. This is my theory. And the 3 natures of 0 will be the 3 metaphysical natures of numbers. And identity nature is its own nature. That is what is simultaneously value as an unceasing semi-nature to the identity of value progression that generated us. The original ancients realized that this identity of value that is invisible but discernible because the inventions work or not in relationship to it, or not further positive or negative relationship. No, but there, for example, distinctly and non-distinctly, men and women are being prevented means to defend themselves with calm voice. At the same time, everyone already having been valued and having valued the causes of it and what's exploiting it, other things, others non-selves. These are starting from when I say that they attach my brother-in-law to fake conversations about me. That's recorded. They forged names. That's confessed. That's not my opinion. That's recorded and confessed by the people that forge names of doctors. They do tricks to pretend. They do sequence shifts and tricks with facts and with women interbranch their consciously roles with men interbranch private foreign mixed overt criminal enterprises mixed, trying to play Jedi mind tricks, pretending they have the right to commit lies that they don't. And just for the record, because there were confessions, and people make confessions when they're speaking through a misprisionality too. They don't know what they're confessing, So and they're forcing people to speak. Everyone's forcing in the background. So we have in the background offensive evidence reception predators involved with an identity theft crime acts, intercampuses through time with with sequence shifts that maintains people needing to demonstrate things that the sensibilities of everyone locked into to valuing other, because they're valuing natures of interbranch ties and roles with a whole bunch of nations sick together. Whole bunch of nations maintain criminally foreign influence, but it not sourced by one. As a fact treatment nature racket exploiting how our fact treatment nature, as what we are as value always, not denying any exceptions. That's why I refer to us as a fact treatment nature. That's why it is demonstrable how the ancients, this is not how we see yin and yang, but there are proofs that they made 3 within. This is, in other words, this is a picture to use to teach about what generated matter, what about the identity of value progression before matter, what caused it, because that is distinctly and non-distinctly a semi-nature of itself that is now a greater nature of itself as what is here, and as what is gaining distinctly and non-distinctly that semi-nature that was before, and a little bit that stays beyond the value of here with that. And because there's 3 semi-natures and its 5 semi-natures are distinctly and non-distinctly gaining the identity of volume that this value progression is, which is positive or negative onto itself, that will only stay positive onto itself. So Earth's value goes lethal of IDs, because we're now tactically valuing value nature systems tactically ulterior from this one, which causes negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Formally rolls with it. a whole bunch of natures of criminal insidiousness originally and still juxtaposed. All fact, treatment, nature, value, styles that to the defenses of themselves and positive lie progression cover up natures need to hide their various their actual natures. See criminal insidiousness nature. See, these are organized crime terms because the modern history is about organized crime that also didn't let any legal identity anything but be child abused of a certain a method of child abuse against each age of fact treatment nature, each identity of it, each title of it. This was sophistication before any of that. It propagated into a method that they knew they could maintain self-valued, self-cultivated, even offensively, criminal insidiousness natures, blaming the causes of it and valuing having that been blamed the cause of it on other things other than themselves, with fact treatment nature and with the value of that progressive, inherently, actively, and progressively. Signs of sharing identity. They are inseparable from each other. This is logic's course. Psychology, not a doctor even. Psychology recorded delusions wrought, juxtaposed with criminal foreign influences, valuing having had that been only let realized, and valuing that having been exploited by the branches by intersciences and from off the ground of education and then stayed on off the campuses in layers, also exploiting what has, whatever they're hiding with all the Russians that have involved with Russians, they have other nations, Pakistan, involved with confessions regarding Hartford Hospital, regarding other intercities hospital with predicate acts, attaching people to fake that were in their hospital that weren't even there, forging names, switching names of doctors, drugs, crimes against people. These are various natures of courts in collusion with hospitals, in criminal collusion with what is interstates, and worse, originally and still, that is manifest. Washington, D.C. Trade Center, treatments of positive as criminal insidiousness nature, and roles with that value manifest interages of campuses in relationship to and as a tool, as a breaching screen, criminal insidiousness natures all before its own realized uses of this that requires a quality of fact treatment nature allowed to protract correlation nature simultaneously inherent active and progressive means without having our identity stolen and interbranches attaching us to fake things in campuses, lied about interpretations of behavior, mass behavior crimes. There is a man that looked like might have been the same person. That's why I'm going to mention it, because New Britain Superior Court has recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally involved with the people, all as victims, but as victim predators, how raised, like a Kyle Gill, child abused. Before I ever went there, and when I was in high school, there's a girl, I don't know the names of, ones I do, associated with co-defendants of former director of the FBI, and with interbranch policing families, judges retired and standing, the sources of Connecticut media recorded and confessed with them, recorded in whole crime methods recorded, where they stack a whole bunch of nature of crime acts, fake news, identity thefts, and people to roles with sensibilities and natures valuing that, not blame the other things others and self. They're preventing free speech. They're preventing mandated law, forcing child abuses, even women roles into branch, all private tied to them, foreign because they're facilitated to it. This is a crime method that is internation. Every modern nation is in an identity of negative value nature progression, maintained through criminal foreign influences that aren't sourced by one, as a method that knew everyone would need to blame. We don't other things selves. They would have to treat pseudo positive as if it was positive, and not be able to have sensibilities, allowing someone the free speech of equality of an integrity capable of demonstrating how inherently, actively, and progressively each individual's rights are insidiously not let realized. The mandated law is not followed, and they're just writing more and more in the background, making up more lies, pretending because they're hurting kids. When they say, "Oh, this person wrote like Fox News has a whole bunch of crime rolls with sensibilities with various natures, of course, offensively." They reported this. They confessed it. They recorded it. They're forging names, switching names, interbranch, private tied to them, and that's maintain the outcome through their roles with a whole bunch of nations. We share policing of the stores, shared policing of the campuses, but these are to the maintenance of lie progressions in layers. There are layers to misprision criminality, where a whole bunch of stars, the real causes, with correlation, nature. If you're really honest, that we could in 2 seconds afford for free means to fix what causes negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, intercampuses, and then simultaneously valuing and blaming on other causes and valuing tactically denature relationship to nature that everyone's in, and everyone's forced to do this. If a quality of fact nature tries to demonstrate it, they hurt them for pretending that everyone's not a positive nature, that everyone's not a truth teller. Not one person is a truth teller. The nature of truth that speaks to us, that speaks for the Constitution, that is unabridged, is not denying any exceptions. And that's a different nature of truth. And that is using nature as value, and value as nature simultaneously, distinctly, and non distinctly. And that is using that and how that, with that is in demonstration how we are in nature of volume, and that and how that is value to how we are a fact sheet in nature. And if you're not treating this way, you can't reveal revelations, how to reveal them, which is being positive onto what is going to be positive onto our inherent active and progressive nature of volume. When you reveal that, see, this is through a value nature system that no one heard yet. No one could. Everyone's already invested in money systems that are tactically ulterior. No one was even allowed to fathom actual reality. What's all that's associated with that? Not by accident. It needs to keep saying, "Well, it's the Cold War," and it has limited understanding of what is unfolding with a whole bunch of hundreds of nations individually grouped and together sick. This is an identity of negative value nature progression that our species nature or volume is in. When we're in a positive nature of volume, we are valuing first individual rights, then group sex rights, then species rights. When we are in a negative value nature progression, identity of negative value nature progression, we are valuing species rights first, then group sex, then individual rights. And that keeps men and women exploiting men and women simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. And then that pretended not realized so that valued. And then so individual rights, the value of the ground, left worse than ours, as ours, as a tool, as what's going to show what's going to cause positive value nature progressions or acts in natures or not. This is positive. This is the identity of positive. Those obligations by our human fact treatment nature. They're offensively seeding sick, disgusting things needed in conversations because they're maintaining sensibilities incapable of having actual integrity, actual class with each age of fact treatment nature. We have child offenders and uses of each age of girls and boys, each age of men and women recorded. used to hurt them. Each age of fact-cheap nature is tactically devalued and not valued and not exploited in layers. Everyone blaming it on other things themselves, and that value, short of what could hide, what could defend itself and us at the same time, with its needs to defend itself in relationship to fact-cheap nature, where each title, especially the ones unrealized, they have the sensibilities of each area of correlation nature, each individual group dash sex together. They have a crime method that keeps the outcome from off the ground of education before modern nations, then on off campuses and layers, the phenomenon of all types of them, a tactically denatured relationship to campus Marxist is everywhere value. Ancient gaming system is everywhere value now. We're in a negative value. See, one thing about Romulus, we're in an identity of negative value nature progression as a species, individually grouped and together as pseudo-positive roles, as tools of what is causing it, which is an organized crime method. The devil, not a ghost. There are proofs of this, but we don't have free speech. We don't have religion. We're being tortured. We have our identity stolen. Each individual, group, dash sex, and together we have our identity stolen. This is one thing it is always, because this is what it is always in demonstration to us. Identity's course, which is, I'll drop the force. I speak of source alone. The force is value clear, so means appear. Read Santa's Claus. Please read the Santa Claus. Nah, the means are dear. It's timeless here. There is what is slow. There is what is fast. And there was what is timeless. And these three values are bonded, and the value of that is bonded. And that what it's bonded to is a complete identity and demonstration to us. And that even when we don't understand, this is logic. This is about the identity of logic. The Trinity simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, the same thing, subject as Allah. 5 semi-natures, 3 semi-natures, inherent, active, and progressive. These 3 bonded semi-natures concentrated themselves by putting in a complete identity, making them that value, making it more. But that complete identity couldn't be a semi-nature, even though it made that semi-nature more value. So it stayed a complete nature greater than that, Allah Akbar. But the value of that Trinity never left, and that went to the 5 natures, the 5 semi-natures, that revealed 5 semi-natures, and a value nature transfer, the heartbeat of Allah, gaining the identity of value progression, that the only way you can understand that is if you're trying to understand why at the same time there are exceptions to that, not in relationship to the names of other gods, not in relationship to the conversation about the Quran. That's the subject of the Quran, with a sequence nature of value, no, maintained, tactically devalued. These are fake sides. ISIS in psychology are two roles. Those are groups. People associated with psychology, people that rely on their information, their roles with databases, their roles with fact-cheap nature, their roles with the treatment of our value, of the value of the ground, of what we can really afford to do and counter. We need a holiday. We need to go to the hospital of the species together. We need pantheism to do it. It's a standing, unrealized since semi-ancient time, the industry. So we need to have everything we're reliant upon that we have to react to as negative value nature progression, valuing that as knaves, because everyone's forced to be a knave to group to my time impositions of that. We are value as fact cheap nature to understand that, to be able to seize time back to its forever nature course. I'll drop the force, Bach sings. I tell you things. The YouTube channel Algebraic Consciousness. It lifts. It only gives. Allah. Auzu billah, bismillah. Auzu billah, bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Ahim. Del. Thanksgiving. Allah. Not Allah. That energy with ours, our value gaining its complete identity, gaining more of what is negative to gain its nature of positive, coming more and more, or what is positive to gain its nature of positive more and more. And if any person is positive onto its nature, then they are positive in sequence into caring about individual nature or volume first, caring about sequence nature first, because that is simultaneous nature. Then caring about individual with that. This is simultaneous nature of value as what connects to make positive value nature progressions, evolutions, revelations. Species just appear. The means are clear, invisible, but here. Begin, beware. Who trains? It only feels like games. It thrills. Religion, everything else kills. Campus Marcius needs the name return, call lost and found. Who's used my name? All rise. Now, see, we need mandated law to be able to report things, be able to defend ourselves with areas. You can't force areas to try to sue out of what it takes, of what involves all identity is law already in collusion. Now, where and as and how that's justified, it's juxtaposed with where it wasn't and isn't, and where and how that was is valued, and where and how that was is exploited. None understand but through live progressions, short of being able to defend themselves with and as that. And as live progression cover up nature's needs and styles, not by accident, sequence nature shifters. Identity of the ground sabotage the value of it from real care. So one thing we do is simultaneously put a plan to allow other natures of reliefs and other natures of charity here, but not formal charity, one we all agree about anyway though. That's so because we have to understand too how we have charity that are only value because the value important, but how we have to understand how in relationship to negative value nature progressions. So how they're involved also with the causes of those negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures originally and still methodically maintained blamed on other causes, things themselves. Especially psychology is involved with interbranch physical delusions juxtaposed with criminal and foreign influences and with means to it and with uses of that. And that's how our fact cheap nature is being used. What is true and also has exceptions is in demonstration to us. And this is as the identity that inventions work or not in relationship to. Invisible but still discernible. Health is in relationship to this. Well-being is in relationship to this. So at the same time, these are jobs that are dependent on their jobs being there. And those jobs are dependent upon negative value nature progressions that we could stop like that. But then we have other negative value nature progressions, not by accident. We're at the end of a whip. Each modern nation blaming the cause of other things other than themselves. This is how it was motivated for a minority from each physical color that set us up as fake sides. And they put color with that, not white and black together. Other nations, the internation sciences became criminally foreign influenced, and they did it knowing that they could make other nations not trust them anymore, and they wanted to do that because they knew that that would tactically degrade. They would self-value tactically degraded education, nature of human fact treatment nature, because real science is about this identity, and it's about its nature of a relationship to volume. This is how we discern it. What is positive to the individual, the group dash X into the species, which means you have to value when you're doing that, when you're valuing that, you're valuing it for the individual first. No matter if the species volume, the species nations or internation sciences only, but keeping it that are criminally foreign influenced. If you're valuing it anyways, our species nature or volume has nothing to do with that. This is a totally other value nature system. The one that is always, the only one that's complete, the only one that's going to stay perfect, positive value nature regressions. If you're not valuing all three natures of our species nature or volume at once, then your negative value nature as yourself, as a gaining value of Allah itself, was simultaneously distinctly and non-distinctly onto Earth's semi-nature, onto Earth's temporary / lasting value as forever nature. Only the extent of this is debatable, and not by accident it's recorded that it is being the debates about it are recorded criminally foreign influenced and delusions wrought, and that not free speech not allowed to demonstrate that. They only let her realize her outcome methodically for other motivations, needs, natures, roles, and interests with the exploitation of each age of fact treatment nature originally and still. Value as a value progression nature of sciences, identity of them that share, the sciences share, as a gaining nature of volume, as a gaining identity of volume, distinctly and non-distinctly in demonstration of its own. What causes positive value nature progressions, evolution and its fruits and gifts. It lifts or leaves for other systems, entertain, leaf of ideas. Not one has gained, who trains. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. That's important. Which I titled, I forgot what the title was. Oh, Yin Yang. Yin Yang and Alpha and Omega were revealed simultaneously. Because this is how you could see if what is positive onto Alpha or Omega, the male or female, is it also positive onto the male or female from the other side? Because this is our species nature of volume with an identity that is the director of the sciences when we're following truly. Now, this is not God. God is what we believe individually, grouped and together, and that's right or wrong. And this is logic's equation of how to know. Just like if you wanted to say, what is solve a math equation. This is about simultaneous nature, value, logic. Before, while being the value of math and beyond it. See now, what has knowledge of math practiced? What is practiced in that can obviously knows a lot of things I don't know about math. But I'm gonna take positions. I'm gonna show you guys how it is discernible that and how I can demonstrate criminal foreign influence and delusions intersciences. Criminal foreign influences with acceptations on reciprocal value, for example, identity value. Well, I was just reading about this on Wikipedia. The definition, we'll go over that. So, this is how we are active value, how we are active nature of volume. This identity of itself is simultaneously, as it gains as an active nature, it is simultaneously that identity is gaining inside its inherent nature. And its inherent nature is simultaneously gaining inside and has the value of its progressive nature, which is again positive or negative in relationship to itself, as what it reveals the fruits of evolution and the gifts of Santa, true, or as what forces away the value of here as nature, and as Leth of Hades, as force space nature transfer, where we become negative value nature for the advancement of positive value nature progression somewhere else. It's nature of volume. So Earth's temporary / lasting value is going away. Leth of Hades. That's the value of human value nature systems. That's the real reason we are in space. Mostly. We're also there to know it and to ignore it or not. This is only capable of valuing, people's voices and means to demonstrate this cut off. Them just attached to fake things in databases. They pretend things like they think people are hateful. They're recorded using each group, each identity of value, with theories that are offensively, criminally foreign influenced and dishonest, and delusions raw. And this is not being demonstrated because they're just when they hear someone say that, because they know we have the proofs that can show it, like sequence shifts. They're leaving out sequence shifts when people respond to such, which they need to do, because this is also a nature of crime that is not only formal. It left formally exploiting in our faces each age of factory nature, each identity of the area, sickly distinctly, specifically to keep house sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. And as what keeps this as the outcome of every nation, sickly distinctly hurt to keep how sickly non-distinctly from being realized, from being understood. Fake sides. Using identity other than this course. I'll drop the force. This is about the identity that all the sounds share, and how and why it is simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly the value of English, and that not the only 26 sounds that are connected. That's not only an alphabet that is connected as an identity of value, as nature, and as nature with an identity of relationship to itself. See, but distinctly and not distinctly and simultaneously, English was revealed to teach using Allah's name, but not without the value of those other names and sounds that are tied to the other names, that are all contained within what is described through what English describes, and those other languages describe what is contained in us, distinctly and non-distinctly, so we could see what is true always, and not denying any exceptions, and as exception nature, and that nature as value, and value as nature simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, and simultaneously distinctly and non-distinctly onto its inherent nature, simultaneously as the identity of value, and as the identity of value's relationship to itself, that is also simultaneously distinctly onto it and non-distinctly onto itself as our active nature that way. Same thing progressively. And that shows the Trinity, how the Trinity of these three natures of volume is also bonded by what concentrated that. And we can't hold on to that in our minds unless we're using a nature of correlation nature that uses a nature of prayer that is science, which is a nature of contemplation that is deep, that is looking, and that's a quality of fact achievement nature, not by accident, not allowed free speech, and the protraction of correlation nature simultaneously inherent active and progressive means. Since founding, not by accident, in relationship to the impositions in Hartford, Connecticut, the North End, and to the impositions upon each age of fact achievement nature involved with areas with shootings. At those shooters recorded victim predators with the people putting them away. In other words, victims only let be realized distinctly and non-distinctly as each person in each modern nation, where an identity of negative value nature progression maintains self-valued by nations, therefore self-cultivated, originally and still propagated criminally foreign influence delusions wrought tactically and methodically, effectively maintaining each age of fact achieving nature, valuing life progressions, valuing misprision, obfuscation of correlation nature's value, fake sides of it, fake middle of quality of fact achievement nature, identity of value discernment. Again, value is a nature, and nature is a trinity, as three natures of invisible but still discernible value. So in relationship to the complete identity of this is science always. Who prays? Many pray. Many pray and pray. Pray and pray. All rise. Games, trains. So this is serious. They put all kinds of disgusting things, make all kinds of disgusting confessions from strangers through time offensively for what is maintained, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated and verified. Washington, D.C., Trade Center, other nations equivalent, effectively maintain breaching tools, effectively maintain each area, state of each modern nation, criminally foreign influence, misprision, and criminality. Each individual, group dash sex, and together forced to value roles. Because they devalued souls, and because the way they're exploiting us from off the ground of education and then on off it originally already. And that was already valued. And that was in relationship to uses of the identity of the ground. Already valued, having the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures blamed to other things, others themselves, formally, and all with that, with the areas, no crime scene. The modern nations are a standing crime scene, with all formal roles keeping what really went down blamed on other things, others themselves, having that value. Each age of fact should be each when they say these kids are hateful and stuff like that. They're trying to find words to counter the same people who are involved with identity theft. Where they start so early, so sickly. They're hardened kids with the woman involved. You have to understand how the woman involved, because these are juxtaposed natures of crime. Only taking one different things. The hope thing you'll pretend it's an accident because they need to hide from their life progression, but interbranch leaders, all tied to them private, need to hide life progressions. In other words, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of people, the former director of the FBI, leading up to a 2006 case in Connecticut, leading up to and then inside of a Trade Center attack context case, right before the attack, post-dated documents were shown to the judges. That was later proven that they had been time stamped on time, handed into the Ninth Circuit on time, but that other was shown from affected from inside the court. Illusion, rules, crimes, evidence, crimes, sequence shifts. It was more the people associated that were also first associated with intercampuses crimes that were on off them. Identity theft, crime acts roles. Sequence shift, no. Names forging and switching, crime acts roles and natures of pathology through time. Also, people recorded and confessed crimes with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones, especially with the all kinds of misprision criminality associated with medical databases, associated with psychology, associated with various natures of justice department, Washington, D.C. Trade Center Agreement, nations individually grouped it together, especially with psychology. They've been drugging people with child offenders, with and as doctors recorded and confessed and demonstrated with crimes with their criminals before with the areas and with the campuses before they were in there. Criminal uses of interbranch policing, of interbranch Facebook pages. Then what do? They lie and say, they pretend that people are hateful. They have to sequence shift. They're forging names and switching names to do that. They're using evidence crimes, rules crimes, letting it happen. There's one guy that looked like so defendant, former director of the FBI was a defendant tied to that because this was with other cases, other people. But his defendants and him and his lawyer recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved crimes against me and crimes against all ages of girls and boys. Intercampuses leading up to the 2006 case. Intercampuses, interstates leading up to the Trade Center attack context, leading up to a Washington case, part of a case / is tied to that. See, those are other natures of legal issues, and of them proven and further recorded and involved with various natures of crime acts, and a whole bunch of names involved with identity theft, crime acts against me and my family. Then they pretend other, because in other words, they're being directed to it by the directors, how they involve other natures of leaders retired and standing, needing to lie about other people's characters overall, finite and active. So they're not letting that demonstrated by preventing mandated law, and they just write other for they're already having had that done. So they're still preventing mandated law offensively. They attach me to forged names, switched names. They did that with a whole bunch of people in their own families and connected drug cliques into branch with fire departments, with their families, associated crimes with their very doctors, associated crimes with deans. This is all how it's facilitated too with other nations, like associated with the DeMauro family, with the Scalora family, with the Kerr family, with judges, retired and standing, and with houses in my area, and with the police chiefs of more than one, years ago, and with one now associated with a house in my area, and with the Dillon family. Further online crime acts with interbranch policing, federal and state and areas, interbranch through time. I just remind. So they put all kind of disgusting things, rape threats and stuff like that. They demonstrate, recorded, proven, and further recorded and confessed and demonstrated child abuses, uses of the stewards of the schools, the highest ones, the ones that are intercampuses. This is through what was facilitated, recorded manifest. Also Joshua Julian also recorded further with child offender campuses with their Facebook interbranch police. A Kerr family also recorded and confessed and demonstrated by the people with the court involved with them criminally through time. And there were forging names and switching names and making misspellings of names. And then they're with the crime act where, in other words, you don't know who it is online, but you know they're already recorded. And so I'm referring to what the crime acts they did online, not knowing who it is. But those people themselves are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated already distinctly and non-distinctly, as the courts themselves recorded, confessed, and demonstrated crime acts roles with overt criminal enterprises, and with this Kerr family, and with the Jensen family, and with the DeMoro family, and with the person that with the people on the street, like an O'Brien family. These are also people crimes with Sandy Hook and tied to this crime method with databases against kids, and with women with crimes with overt child predators, foreign and domestic, doctors of psychology, delusions wrought, criminally foreign influenced, and criminal uses of the ground, on and off campuses manifest sensibilities natures with like Town Line Road. Sensibilities natures with how that's tied to value nature systems where we share policing. We share policing that has families, foreign and domestic, shared in their family members, positions at colleges. Natures of policing you're not supposed to give up, but they confess and demonstrate things, record them by speaking through other people, by making confessions misprision, and offensively already having had them invested. New Britain Superior Court, all kinds of fake news crime acts. There before that, there were already crime acts with offensive evidence reception, pretending to perceive things they know aren't true, preventing mandated law from being followed. Also with a Fienza family, also with the Aiello family, recorded confessed with crimes with the kids and with timed placement of ads with the news people, with the co-defendants of the federal criminals and the children of them and the roles with other children that were put in classes. I mean, ones I don't have at all, ones I don't know at all, like the Joshua Julian, Joel, I barely know. Criminally, they use them all criminally for the same fake sides of fact sheet nature. I don't know who took away the like. You shouldn't dislike this. You should respond to me fast for mandated law. See, that's what they need to do. Have sequence shifts. They make mistakes in courts on purpose. They don't let people talk. They're criminally not. They're pretending that they don't understand. They're pretending they think that they're supposed to try to prove people. Um, they're trying to make things up to prove people criminal by pretending not that they're following the rules when they know they're not. They have been in forging names, switching names, and making up things recorded into databases. This is through time. Two Mendes police are already also recorded and confessed involved further with the town offices, with the library of Weathersfield, and with the new police department place, with the interpolicing of the stores. Further, with the two campuses connected at the Southstein Middle School, with businesses next to it, as family members also recorded and involved with the various natures of courts and of police forms, like a Delafair family, involved with especially probate courts, sick against elderly and against children, and against with the physical delusions. These are the identity theft rackets and roles with the overt criminal enterprises, with other nations sick with them at once. Campus sings, you campus dance, give back the name. Campus Marcius calls you home to train. Each one who disbelieves. So you need to pick one name in sequence. These are people that pretend people are. In other words, they're starting fights with me with the creepiest little people, like Mike Kerr. Well, there's a Jerry Kerrs too, but there's a Mike Kerr, and there's a Anthony Yagman and his brothers. I'm not a big guy, but I could smash them. This is also with them with gun crime rules, setting up fights, and then they shoot people because they're already offensively having been lying about my behavior, lying about me, attaching me to fake relationships to others, fake positions. In other words, fake locations, fake sequence nature, and groups. They're making groups value sequence shift roles, nature's needs and styles per a crime method that spreads rumors through kids. I never had anything to do with Rick Sanfayo and Tim O'Brien growing up. The only exceptions are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally involved. And these are people with crime acts with superior. I mean, with Sandy Hook, Newtown. These are people with criminal uses of taking my YouTube page down, my one of my videos on that criminally. These are people with Sandy Hook, Newtown. From there, online interbranch police, crime acts in various natures of courts. Already they were motivated to that because they're confessed, were demonstrating recorded crimes already on off campuses and with areas. Through shared policing, things manifest with mobile gas stations associated with the Dillon family, a whole bunch of people associated with the houses in my area, facilitated to crime rolls they're maintaining now. If you try mandated laws, when someone asks to report something, you're obligated to do that. They're lying about when someone catches them, attaching wire crimes. They changed the wire crimes. They were with rape threats and demonstrated abuses of little girls. Ones in my family, these are at the same time various natures of courts already recorded criminally attached my family members to fake positions with federal criminals that were associated with the Trade Center attack context, criminally against my family, against their actual positions recorded, all kinds of ways other than what they said. In cases that they already proved used criminal from inside of courts and further. They used criminal the Trade Center attack context. They used the actors involved with that leading up to that. They have the Harriet Beecher storehouse, Harriet Beecher storehouse still being used, still using the concept of women pretended as value as pseudo positive natures being used to hurt each age of girl and women, being used to make them value identity theft rackets roles with the abuses of their own kids, even when they help them, because they're reaching out to someone who has connections. But they're all insidiousness natures and used that way. When someone needs to report a specific crime act, they're making overall allegations within as lies, as liars, as various natures of courts and their police and their family members, and all private tied to them, methodically recorded per a method kept needing to hide the same finite, active, and progressive lies together, sequence shifts, and identity theft crime acts. And these five values are tied, and many lie. Go through your five. So we have criminal. There was also a recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with this whole bunch of people with CCSU criminally involved with a Jen Social, Jim Social, and Amy Social. I had nothing to do. One time I had one word of conversation. She would make fun of my shorts when I was in grammar school. You know, I never had. There was the weirdest class. They had the teacher with the same name as me, and they exploited that criminally. This is with their roles with name rackets and stuff like that, database crimes. This was the private school next to it, and with the Walters family through time involved with crimes with people with Washington, associated with his mother, associated with on off CCSU criminally involved, whole bunch of ways, whole bunch of other nations. There was recently reported uh, um, a theater guy, an acting teacher from CCSU, who they fired I guess. Or I don't know if they fired him, what they did. They reported that there were allegations against him. I think it was just this night, the other night. Because now it's 2:52 in the morning. But the night before 12, they reported this. Now, see, this guy is tied to a Frankie Reese, also reported and confessed involved with crimes with Connecticut Interbranch Police and their family members, intercities, like with CCSU, on off CCSU, interstates, involve criminality with criminal justice cliques, foreign and domestic, drug natures of drug crime roles, identity theft crime acts roles, natures, uses of their family members' roles with this, acting into timed acting that they maintain valued and using standing natures of relationship to the area. Every single place, every single area tactically denatured. Even the best, where you see the best homes and stuff, tactically denatured, especially like depths of ponds and stuff. It's not deep. It's not the way the nature is supposed to unfold that causes positive value nature progressions, action nature. It's not real. This is also how we have nuclear technology that they call peaceful in relationship to the ulterior, which is nuclear weapons, that they have to watch out for in so many ways. It could be so dangerous forever. It could just ruin humanity. Those threats are making negative value nature progressions, acts in natures too, as tools blamed on other things because they need to hide and have the right to tell lies. See, originally instilled pretended legal by quoting statutes that say so criminally, dishonestly, sequence shift, crime predators recorded against mandated law and demonstration of it because they were using courts criminally, database criminally, evidence reception criminally, as trained to, but also through influences maintained only that realized insidiously. Everyone only understands it as life progressions, natures, as victims forced to react, and then value those reactions as fact treatment nature. Value blaming the real causes of other people's hurt reactions, blaming them on other things, others themselves, blaming on those, nays we have all kinds of drug crime roles with the people pretending to be against that. Then they're spreading rumors in the background, not even true. They're making disgusting confessions when they're kids to strangers, and then they say that those people aren't strangers, and that's the only context you know them in. They use the eighth grade forced me into a summer school class where they put a Heather Hansen, a Ray Clough, who came into my street, came into the house where the former police chief from years ago lived, his girlfriend. Anyway, her reportedly is someone that was intimately tied to him. She had a dog. They used to come out through the dog door and try to kill people, little kids. She moved out. They moved in when I was in fourth grade. They were involved with confessions, demonstration recorded. They were involved. One time I was in the presence of a modern pastry has I don't know their names. I forgot the name of one of them. One of them is a brother of a bunch of sisters, I guess. I don't know, and they have kids now too, probably involved. Now I don't know them, but I have to speak about them because there's a Phil Clough and like involved with the rest of the child defenders, and that's one of the other extended family members of the house I'm speaking about. Also confessed and recorded involved with crimes with the police chief's daughter and extended family member, and other family, their family members. Intercities through time, on off CCSU, criminally involved, with body dumping spots, with shootings, police shootings, and other people's shootings, criminal uses of knives. So I wanted to say too, they use the criminal thing of knife, and then we were having a conversation about that someone tied to me lifted a knife. If you try to explain things, they pretend you're talking about someone else. We were having a conversation about a knife. They try to make it like something it's an other, and they try to make it like they were pretending other because they were trying to describe it as a smaller knife than it was. And I wasn't trying to describe the knife being used against me. I was trying to describe how the knife was being used by a woman to describe as a reaction to the men they have associated with, like a Kyle Gill's father, Jose Gill, for him, and his wife, for her, and his sister, for her. And also, she said they have her husbands involved with various natures of police forms, retired and standing and private, associated on and off CCSU, involved all through also recorded crimes with overt criminal enterprises, with FBI drug clicks that are also crimes with child offenders, also crimes with overt criminal enterprises, same when they're not legitimately. These are people with crimes in cases with them, with databases, with a sequence shift affected from inside the Ninth Circuit and then shown to the panel of judges in the Trade Center attack context right before it. Therefore, shut down too. Then whatever they did. But that was proven. They post-dated the documents from inside the court. They had been hand-delivered on time, time-stamped from in the court on time. That proven led to a 2006 case leading up to the influences and the motivations of the people on Covington Street, but they were already affected to criminal roles before I ever was there, before anyone I ever knew tied to the place was there. And these are with people with names that I don't know that made confessions one time or a couple of times regarding that, or I think one time. But they also mentioned a name afterwards. In other words, Charlie Bowes is associated with police forms and with his family. I never had anything to do with them, but they're also associated with many associated with the houses in my area with the police forms, foreign and domestic criminally involved. Even foreign and domestic military facilitated to collusion and how facilitated to collusion. Also exploiting how titles associated with prisons have like title, like this is a lieutenant, they're garbage. Their family members are recorded on and off CCS, not just CCSU, every age of campus is connected. They made confessions about this times when I was a kid because they're keeping each age of fact sheeting nature, each age of correlation nature, each individual, group dash sex, and together criminally foreign influenced in relationship to databases and how they have a crime method, and then they attach that to class placements for motivations they only understand through line progressions. Each branch, each nature of sophistication. This was sophistication here first. This is a criminal insidiousness nature machine. Propagation is already propagated. It's a criminalism, value self-cultivation machine. In other words, self-valued and maintained needed value blamed on other causes, things themselves, the actual cause of negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, and uses of them. This is each age of fact sheet nature being used with offensive delusions wrought and criminally foreign influence, offensive evidence reception, predator rackets roles. This is what fake news is doing when they pretend that they're against hateful speech. They are recorded doing that criminally for their criminal uses of group and difference originally and still. They're preventing exception nature from being demonstrated how criminally used. And you can't value that and teach about logic honestly and legitimately as integrity. You can't teach about positive identity. You can't teach about logic's identity without valuing lies and physical delusions offensive and only having been natures of sensibilities as positive that are as criminal and citizen's nature. You can't defend that and stand simultaneously inherent correlation nature, inherent active and progressive means it would sequence true and without stealing identities to pretend so. So they have that value. That's what really they're furthering the overt criminal enterprise is for, in a way that maintains them. Like, for example, a whole bunch of fake news, crime acts, lies WFSB told about me. And through their roles with retired and standing interbranch cliques using their family members to hide their life progressions, identity theft crime acts against me and people tied to me in cases past, where I was only arrested because they had to hide through, as they did through time, recorded not let counters to their online crime acts. And passions, pretending emotions, and passions in the background criminally because they need to pretend they didn't realize there are database crime acts, sequence shifts. They're actually recorded natures, actually recorded. They're actually recorded, pretending things are recorded interbranch, individually, criminally, forging names and switching names, doing that grouped and together. They have witnesses that they could never pretend on paper, legitimately. So they're faking things. They have been. Their motivations to this are recorded. Their natures are recorded. No, who dislike this? And someone respond now because someone liked it and then they disliked it. That's a pain. You guys are cowards. Fix fake news. WFSB. Fox Connecticut News. You're making women and girls have to go out and have all these hassles to find lawyers. Me too. And because you stack so many nature crimes, and you can't just call someone and have them follow mandated law. And because of their crime methods, pretending things recorded other than are actually recorded as police. If you catch them and call up and record and report that, they'll lie about the substance of your conversation with them. They'll attach you to fake words and pretend it was recorded and put the name of police equipment if you go in there to do it. They're forging names and switching names when you do that. Then what happens when you switch names? There's a fact cheating nature racket. Then they're pretending people don't speak clear. All kinds of natures of crimes. These are people that broke into my house without a police warrant, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated crime rolls with a Scalora family. Also recorded and confessed with untimely death crime acts rolls, drug crime rolls with kids, identity theft crime acts against me, interfamily insidious lying behind our backs, pretending they know me with the extended family members of the kid that came into my school when I was in fourth grade, my grade, but never in a class with me. The exception was in after middle school. In that summer, I had to go to summer school class. They put me in the class with Joe DeMora, also recorded and confessed, involved with them, with the criminal justice cliques, with CCSU criminally involved. Other like Middlesex Community College, a whole bunch of people involved criminally with federal criminals and their families that were co-defendants of former director of the FBI in the 2006 case. Criminal uses of Covington Street before I was ever there, before anyone that's involved with this. I'm going to use people's names because there's women and kids that they have been abusing. And this is with women that spread like a Christine Bedard slash Tardet, involved with crimes with a Dr. Leahy clique, a bunch of other people, a Lombardo woman attached, pretended I was yelling, associated crime X roles with someone who was yelling, who's just one of the many people with them associated criminally with a Dillon clique, a detective Dillon associated with all these natures of drug crime roles per his evidences crime roles, identity theft crime acts roles, sequence shift crime acts roles, crime acts roles against each age of fact, cheap nature through time, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by people associated with them and with my new and past neighbors now. And I didn't even know about it until my past neighbors left. I only even partially knew about it. They're making confessions halfway and out of sequence. So then when you try to go back and explain it, it makes it look like you had a conversation that you didn't have. That's also what they're doing. They're mixing confessions in there to make things not make sense, and people just with sensibilities. This is also related to the criminal uses of religious spots. The sensibilities of pseudo-positive natures defending that, and then incapable of helping someone who needs to report from off campuses, off religious spots, maintain on off religious spots, criminal involvements with interbranch predators. And once they're stuck like that, if they tell on it, they get caught for worse, not by accident. This is juxtaposed in a way that makes a whole bunch of people reliant upon the needs to hide the same finite, active, and progressive lies, the same sequence shifts, forced value, like with American history. This brings revelations. This brings revelations gifts. It lifts or leaves. Leaf of IDs. Fear God. We need federal stewardship of Connecticut. Now, everyone, please like and share this and comment who disbelieves and have a good nature, because that violent nature needs to be countered too. Because there is one nature of this is what I'm going to say about yin yang. Women and men distinctly and non-distinctly, non-distinctly, we need to have a calm means to defend ourselves verbally to avoid violence. And this knew that. So it maintains everybody um, methodically, effectively valuing roles with a method that keeps everyone preventing and valuing prevented correlation nature simultaneously in here active and progressive means. Excuse me. So prejudice and hate didn't make the motivations of slavery, of treatments of Jim Crow laws as ours, as roles, as tools, as breaching screen, one way redeems. This is an organized crime method that effectively keeps each modern nation, states, and areas incapable of defending themselves as titles of the law, as concepts of the law like justice. They're as negative value nature, positive as justice, as criminal insidious as natures. And they're valuing that legalized criminally. And you can't value that and tell our history true. So they value keeping who's going to know the most facts through systems that are only going to let them realize be unaccosted, everyone accosted, but their integrity if they're going to be indifferent to how each of the sciences is an abridged obfuscation of their science's actual value. The sciences share an identity. And the means to afford instant means to heal so many things. It doesn't come through private. That was never liberated. That was never the integrity of actual science. Here and there and everywhere, individually grouped and together, negative value nature, valuing overall identities of voice first. Then, that's what when they the president needs integrity other than their fake integrity. They want him to stay roles distinctly and non-distinctly. Each position of the human fact sheet with nature is not let free speech. If we had simultaneously free speech when Barack Obama was in president, we wouldn't be still in people stacked natures of cities. Even the suburbs recorded tactically denatured, effectively causing and having caused negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, effectively having been maintained methodically valued, effectively having been maintained valued, and that having been caused to and as natures that couldn't understand, but through needs to keep it, to value it, kept obfuscated. There are no justifications. See, we have ill logic treatment natures, ill value of correlation treatment natures regarding the impositions on Garden Street. This is criminality on and off the state judicial branch offices criminally involved, on and off the houses next to it criminally involved, and with this Enzo Fianza, and with the many natures of crime acts associated with this Christine Bedard, and with the judges with the forging names, switching names, crime acts rolls. Also with all those with their courts, with that. Worse, sequence shift, database illusion stacking, crime acts roles, attaching kids and me and others to fake relationships to others, fake shift, sequence relationships, fake location relationships, and through time. They're doing this with misprision. They're keeping misprision criminality valuing, so they're hurting everyone in a sustained way. You have to respond now. They're forcing this through years because that's all they need to do. They have been doing it effectively. It's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. The Delaferro family also, with the probate courts especially, with the various natures of prisons with the kids, and the doctors with the kids. Also, crime acts roles against each age of fact treatment nature, exploiting how we have shared policing of stores and standing natures of positions with areas. They're keeping all the identities as life progression, cover up nature's needs and styles that don't even realize why. They're all victim predators. Forgiveness is for this conversation about this organized crime method. The devil is really above. They're using religions defending self, the pseudo positive. They don't know yet because the campus is stolen, tactically, effectively criminally re-engineered. The ancients knew that you have to check if alpha is really being positive when it's claimed what value is as male value. You have to check that, in other words, is it really individual rights first in that sequence, then grouped, then species, nature, or volume? Because that's when it's positive onto itself, while we are a quality of diffusion as a gaining nature or volume, as fact treatment nature, as that quality, as we are value always and not denying exceptions. And that's the exception nature and demonstration of itself as the identity of positive that is beyond our control, as what causes inventions to work or not, and then further to be positive or negative or not. It's obvious that negative nuclear weapons are negative value nature. It's obvious that nuclear energy is negative value nature as temporary positive nature. It's a criminal insidiousness nature of positive. It's not positive that is also positive onto itself. It's caused to negative value nature, progressions, action nature. It's caused needs to police it, needs to keep liars undercover, people that are not even real. And then they're going to pretend they're positive. They need to be positive. They need to speak. They're not nothing about positive. That's only positive in relation to negative value nature progression. In other words, torture. At the end of a whip, what is needed to be positive is different. When that's sustained, it was a method that it was exploiting them how in a way how it was sustained. They were again investing everyone to roles, needs, and natures, blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures on other things other than themselves. Each one of these groups is needed to be blamed. How they're being used formally, but we don't have this being let because they're forcing fights between people, and they're already and to make sure that there's the wrong outcome, they're already attaching everyone to forged names, fake relationship to others, sequence shifts. When I say they attach me and my family members to fake conversations, fake words, that's recorded. That's not because I don't know what they said or like that. That's recorded. They attach me and them to fake words criminally, with intent to do that criminally in cases. They know I raised my voice because their roles with child offenders and with recorded confessions to me in conjunction with the rape threats and untimely death threats with the same misprision groups, with the same tied untimely deaths. One on the Trinity College recorded involved with various natures of crimes and predicate acts clicks anyways. And these are people involved with crime acts with the interbranch police, criminal uses of the courts, and of depositions, and of lawyers, and then of lying about what was actually recorded in other cases. In those cases, they're already stuck. Okay, have a good night. Campus mercy of soul calls you home to train. Who gain to gain the game. So in Southington, someone respond. They have a women's group, and then they have attached to the Harriet Beecher storehouse. Before I heard that, a while ago, I noted that we're gonna demonstrate how Harriet Beecher Stowe and how Jane Austen were used as victim predator tools for what they didn't understand, but they had no control over. You know, basically. But what we have none over now, but only because everyone's not following mandated law, and because of how they have the policing of the internet and interbranch invested already to database crime roles, other natures of database crime roles. And they're needing to hide that and are hiding it for criminal uses of online policing of online platforms and criminal uses of their sensibility natures, their convictions with physical delusions, criminal foreign influence juxtaposed there with the branches. So we have to be able to report in sequence the recorded courts and police forms forging and switching names. So, and stacking databases with crime acts and then not letting a response. When you go inside courts, they have a whole bunch of crime methods pretending that you know, that invest people. In other words, there was a call when there was a guy from New Britain that was in New Britain Superior Court that looked like this Comey guy, the director Comey, who's also already recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with the sequence shifts and the pattern of crimes against mandated law with a whole bunch of other ones, natures of crimes. See, these are not only natures of crimes, these are natures of crimes in a method that keeps that keeps people investing, all the people involved with those various natures of crimes, needing to hurt who's trying to demonstrate it. And that's why they're having it confessed. And in other words, you have to speak about other people that brought you up. And then they pretend you're bringing them up. And that's part of their sequence shift. That's part of their torture racket roles. They have the creepiest people. Now, I'm not trying, these are people with child offenders. They're starting fights. They're trying in the background, they're pretending they think people are bad people. Oh, this guy could be dangerous because he punched a punch. He boxed for a lot of boxing fights. They don't care about dangerous. These are sick people with natures of gun crime roles, interbranch. Nature of gavel crime roles, interbranch. Nature of evidence racket roles, database crimes. These are very sick natures pretending to care about positive. With and as integrity natures that they can't defend themselves in integrity's course at once. Boxing was of source. You can't, campus dunce, return the name. Campus Marcia's calls, all home to train. Now respond for WFSB and for Fox Connecticut News, being investing people further and further, still using the Harriet Beecher Stonehouse originally still to cultivate natures of criminal insidiousness nature roles, defending treatments, opinion natures that are recorded, invested to the defenses of themselves through information, criminally foreign influenced, misinformation, treatments, evaluations of other people and of evidences of reality's value, which is greater than, which of the great identity greater than reality. Reality is a semi-nature. And to understand the reality we know and what we don't know, that process demonstrates what is thought, pretended known is not known, in other words, made up. There and with criminally foreign influence and juxtaposed with physical delusions. juxtaposed with natures of hurt that are only effectively maintained, only capable of blaming the causes of it on other things and on others, and on selves. This is an nature of identity thefts bonded. They used color, and as all colors, because they took over information sciences, a minority with a plan and a method recorded that effectively maintains the majority and the minority in collusion against every individual. And that's how you free us. Follow mandate's course. Who disbelieves? Please respond, because the interbranch, they're recorded using wire crime acts and methods and natures, interbranch, intercampuses. They're using the databases and the sensibilities in relationship to them, recorded dishonest and or with sensibilities, in other words, dishonest to themselves and to others, as sensibility natures, pretending and really believing fears and information that's not true. So they have physical delusions juxtaposed with lies that are being valued, and with sequence shifts recorded, wire crime methods recorded, intercampuses and interbranch being valued, and roles with that. And roles with that are with a crime method maintaining a whole bunch of other natures of crimes, liars maintained only let realize manifest as a tool, as a breaching screen, as pseudo patriotism natures, valuing all blind sacrifice in the hands of all knaves, formal, pretending other. Natures of positive treatments that you can't defend and sustain free speech with its simultaneously interactive and progressive means. So simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. We have other natures, like we have to this Dillon family. This is recorded whole bunch of names of people that I had nothing to do with the interbranch and with the foreign and domestic military, also with Kuwaiti military, and with sexual circles that are only let realized because of the way they're keeping. In other words, they're using the sensibilities of the area. They're setting people up they're putting people in class placements. They're putting people that are not even in the same schools on each side of the high school, further criminally involved with child offenders. The superintendents of the school, whatever they're called. Those people are further intercities, Southington and Connecticut, involved with crimes with child offenders, further with the fake news too. Identity theft crime acts roles. Courts with cases, treatments of each age effect, treatment date criminal, originally and still. All we need is recorded to demonstrate this, but we don't have free speech and we have it offensively stolen. I was stolen to fake both sides of fake news, fake middles. And that's recorded as criminal foreign influence and delusions. But so I'll delineate their delusions from their criminal foreign influences. Religion train. Who gained to gain the gain of gains again? Who trains? Betrayal tribes. Begin, arise. All right. So Fox Connecticut News. I called many times. You guys, they confess, record, and demonstrate they're being coached to cover up various natures of identity thefts online too. They stole my identity to online platforms with their same fake news crime acts. They had a picture of me. They took the picture from a police report. They know they're arresting innocent people criminally, and then they pretend that, in other words, they have statutes that you're supposed to believe the officers first. You're supposed to believe the courts first. But they're recorded for criminally preventing, using that law to criminally prevent demonstrations that they're already recorded in collusion. They're preventing mandated law. They're preventing free speech. They're attaching me and our family members to fake natures of relationships to others, fake sequence shift relationships, fake relationships that weren't at all. pretending real at once. So they stacked names in their family members needing to lie about people, all tied to the houses in my area used criminally, especially one. And I don't blame them because this is a sequence, Nathan. In other words, I'm not trying to make convictions about, except for with the ones I'm making. In other words, interbranch forging names, switching names, and sequences. Those crime acts I'm asking to counter. They're not letting them counter or respond because they're forging names, switching names. So they're recorded offensively stacking natures of crimes. Extortion. This is extort. These are serious, serious crimes. That's what motivates them to pretend that they don't realize getting over on people every day in courts. One-way reports. You've heard not news. So respond for the news for me because they stole my identity. They stole, they've been coaching little kids the sensibility. They have them staying home through time. Proven child offenders associated with the leaders of the school. Further recorded and confessed with the family members of one of with the whole group of a whole bunch of crime methods using them. These are fake Washington Trade Center tied fake vetting bodies associated with the policing of the stores, criminally foreign influenced, exploited, because those are database relationships too, and they value them stacked and with the misprision criminality tied to them. Simultaneously, in conjunction with that, valued interbranch and intercampus is stacked per crime methods that maintain this motivated. Everyone speaking through others. And with the sequence shift racket rolls. They're starting fights consciously with people that are smaller than bigger people. In other words, each difference is exploited. There are proofs that, each difference, in other words, there are proofs. I don't want to go into other nations because I'll just say that non-distinctly we have the same enemy since some ancient times. It just reminds. And so it's value to be able to know if what is positive to in thought as science alpha's value is simultaneously thought and as Yang's value. And if it's not, what is making that thought simultaneously positive alpha onto positive alpha, which is only when positive omega is positive onto omega. It's not that, in other words, this is about the nature and the identity of positive and the nature of volume. So you see, I saw just a picture I just shared it on Facebook of UConn basketball girls who are amazing girls, as the girls of our species are. But they're like, so, with like aggression that wouldn't be fitting to them, they wouldn't value in their under normal social circumstances. But see, exception nature is with related to the nature of a basketball game, which is a nature that is totally, you don't want to walk into a court like that. They'll lie about how the way you walk into a court anyways. Anyway, there was a guy who looked just like James Comey, or the Comey guy in the Britain court. If that was him in the Britain court when I was in there, then that was with him tied to the recorded pattern of sequence shifts from before, since before he was used in the media criminally. And these are recorded election crimes and crime rolls pretending to be against such as people who are recorded consciously in the furtherance of such intercampuses and having been facilitated to it. So that's the thing, how it was facilitated. This is the in other words, when they used to put oil in the lamps, they used to get it from the whales in Connecticut. to make light. There are proofs they already knew how to make light other ways. They were letting it be rediscovered to invest everyone valuing roles with that as victim predators, not realizing because the way that was going to be was and is going to be exploited. All we have to do is admit to the worst negative value nature roles and positions that we can admit together. Those are the greater and greater instant means we can admit. As a species, we need the species. We have this pantheism that is a science of correlation nature, shared. As the science of prayer, shared. As the value of yin yang and of alpha and omega simultaneously. Now, simultaneously, non distinctly. And while being simultaneously distinctly and non distinctly. And this is as a manifest value together, they are this way used to teach about how, in relationship to what, which is again the identity that the sciences share, the identity of perfect value progression. Now, the ancients didn't have the big problems about agreeing about the name of it. They just called it that, and they weren't like trying to obfuscate what they were trying to really figure out, and they understood that they let nature reveal before criminally foreign influence sciences. It was easy to reveal what causes positive value nature progressions, acts and natures, and the fruits of evolution, the gifts from nowhere. Return. Ancient gaming system. YouTube.com/user/Romulus Walls. Algebraic consciousness. One year is a value as the year before it and as the year after it. And as a little bit simultaneously. And as a little bit more, a value coming into and with the value of that, and as the value of that. So it is not only, so it is 1,095. 1,095 days, but each day is not exactly the same amount of minutes. And that's indifference, that's connected to the identity of volume that fills more here, or it forces more from here and fills more somewhere else through that vacuum. Us as negative value nature progression. That's why we're going into where negative value nature progression is actually nature. And that's self and an identity of negative value nature progressions. That's why how many nations have space agencies, motivations, needs, and interests to maintain fake sides, not realize suits and ties, maintain going to value nature systems going to space from tactically denatured relationship to nature value, tactically denatured water value, even bugs and putting everything out of place was used criminally. Only seen as landscape theater and or overtly tactically criminally and denatured, and in levels in between, in a negative value nature progression, in demonstration. In other words, the only way to fix negative environmental change is by being a quality of fact treatment nature that's about nature. With that is about truth and as facts that is not denying the slightest exception, that is not denying sequence value, that is not denying progression's value. And as a system that these are tactically ulterior from, and is not denying that and how these are tactically ulterior systems from the one that inventions work are not in relationship to. The identity of value progression, that one. And then being further positive or negative in relationship to that. So we set up, and we understand this, what we're in together. We understand how people need money. People were never afforded the means to hear science is true, voice a positive, and that was valued by nations here and there needed to maintain each area and state of each modern nation, causing the real cause of negative as nature's cause, valuing the real causes of negative value nature progressions action nature's blame the other things others themselves. This is why the beginning of the Quran says that the believers of Islam are supposed to value the non-believers equally, and more so than ones who think they understand all ways, but they don't. Right up in the front part of the Quran before anything debatable. Before anything debatable, well, unless you're going to be all with the offensive lies, because it's about people who are lying, who are pretending other, in relationship to recorded, forced, valued, criminally foreign influenced sciences. Every modern nation was forced that before the modern religions. Sciences were already criminally foreign re-engineered. And the human fact treatment of nature was already exploited, valuing that as roles that couldn't defend themselves as with treatments of positive as that, and afford correlation nature simultaneously inherent active and progressive means. It's criminal when the way they pretend to be against prejudice, as only one's allowed voice on what on organized crime, tools of it. That's what's really furthering overt criminal enterprises. Them juxtaposed with recorded, juxtaposed with private drug crime rackets, and that recorded juxtaposed with other natures of identity, other natures of crimes, criminal uses of databases. One of the things that are most of the way common to it, even when it's not, because it's facilitated that's tied to the life progressions using the identity of the ground, values, criminal uses. So little rap guy and friends from Algebraic Conscious from my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/rebel as well. These are they're an anti-archetypal organized crime that little rap guy invented, but it became criminally foreign influenced because little rap guy's brother Remus, little rap guy's name is Romulus. Little rap guy's brother Remus, and the brother of who little rap guy set it up with, they're anti-archetypal organized crime. Anti-archetypal. So the devil's an archetypal organized crime group, a criminal enterprise, an archetypal criminal enterprise. And little rap guy, he made an anti-archetypal organized crime. And this is also used to show how modern nations are also anti-archetypal criminal enterprises. Because the nature and the value of the sciences were already inherited, maintained in collusion as states and areas in collusion with what is criminally foreign influenced, but not sourced by one, so no one knew how to, and was persuaded to and could only capable of blaming of other things, others themselves, the real causes of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, natures, and roles with this as criminal insidiousness natures. As natures of positive that can't defend themselves, that couldn't defend themselves. Then and now, same way, distinctly and non-distinctly. Sickly, distinctly, then consciously, because they knew through time they would have to keep it. So it was non-distinctly Value blamed on other causes. Again, other things themselves. On others, they put St. Nicholas in jail criminally. This is what is most probable. At the time, they were putting people. They're doing it now. They're putting people in jails criminally, consciously. Whether to extents, they only understand to extents though. Like when they had witch trials, they understood they were lying to themselves and to others. But and they understood the motivations for it. But what they couldn't fathom was how that was measured, how that was a nature of sophistication, as pseudo sophistication, as criminal insidious nature that was being used as tools, as breaching screens, as breaching tools to the defense of pseudo positive, of time treatments, two ways fast, two ways slow, always being used to exploit forever nature's course, what is timeless source, what is timeless true. I tell you each, yes, you, return, be trained. Capus Marcius calls you home to gain, the gain of gain, the gains, who trains, the child tribes. This nature of truth is native pure, as our nature has value. Sure. Yes, yes. That means appear.